Dr. Anacleto was the blessed morning, each one. I know that I am already old. After hearing that hymn, the songs that we, as a congregation, sang this morning, I just want to go to a place where I can worship, quiet place, hearing a song like that, just worshiping and reflecting on the beauty and the majesty of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And I just want to hear Him speak through His word, exalting Him, glorifying Him. That's the Lord of my heart. For God is so gracious, so caring, loving, merciful. Like Christus can find everything. For many, many years, for sure, you have experienced the love of God. His care. That's the very reason why, when every time I hear this hymn, parang ayaw ko na yung mahina. Just can't be there. And have that quiet moment. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful moment. Quietness of our heart will be later on. Jeremiah 31, verse 1. The Lord says, "The time is coming when I will be the God of all the tribes of Israel, and they will be my people. In the desert I showed mercy to those people who had escaped death. When the people of Israel longed for rest, I appeared to them from far away. People of Israel, I have always loved you, so I continue to show you my constant love." The Lord bless the reading of His word. When these words were first spoken by the prophet, God was laying many and heavy chastisement on His people for their sins. But lest their spirit should fail under their afflictions, and lest they should be tempted to think that the Lord had forgotten to be gracious, He sends them a reassuring word of unspeakable consolation. And of course, these words were not just spoken to them, but is meant for all the people of God in every age. That includes you and me this morning. These verses are one section of the 8 affirmations of hope for Israel's restoration. These messages of hope come to the exiles around the year 600 BC. In the midst of despair, in the midst of hopelessness, discouragement, and doubts. This is the setting of that great Psalm 137. By the rivers of Babylon we sat and wept when we remembered Zion. Because their restoration is no longer dependent on their behavior, but on God's loving kindness. There is a certainty about it. It will happen. You see, when you look at the closing years of the 7th century, where a time of decline for Judah, Jerusalem was to fall to the Babylonian armies in 597 BC. And about 30 years before the overthrow of the city of Jerusalem, Jeremiah was called to his impossibly, so-called difficult prophetic ministry in an environment of political folly and religious corruption. And his ministry was to last about 40 years. Think about the prophet Jeremiah. He was chosen by God, a young prophet. The living God had been deeply involved in his life, even from his birth. And imagine that these words of the Lord has been addressed to you. You have been chosen for a special lifetime. How do you respond? When we reflect on the ministry of Jeremiah, Jeremiah's ministry was not free from the rigors and pressures. The demands of the ministry were there. It was not easy during his time. And when you think of it politically, he was a failure. He lived as a prophet for 23 years without seeing any result. So think about it. This man, the weeping prophet, may have wholeness as his objective, but his condition was frequently one of brokenness. And we praise God. His covenant God is there for him. He would be championed by God. If you notice the verses that we have read this morning, who is this God that Jeremiah served? This God is the self-existent God. You notice there's a statement in Jeremiah 31. The one who spoke. It says, the Lord says. You notice the translation there. It's all capital letters. Lord. So who is speaking to begin with? It is the one whose name is Jehovah. The first name of God, for God in the Bible, in Genesis 1, is the Hebrew name Elohim, which reveals God as the mighty or strong one and often highlights God as creator. But here in Jeremiah 31, verse 1, we find the name Lord, Jehovah, Yahweh. And the name Yahweh is used more than any other name for God in the Old Testament. It occurs 6,823 times. The burning bush was not the first time that the name Yahweh was revealed. It was mentioned in Genesis 2:4. This is the account of the heavens and the earth when they were created in the day that the Lord God made the heavens. God also said to Moses, "Say this to the people of Israel, the Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, He sent me to you. This is my name, and thus I am to be remembered through all generations." Yahweh. Yahweh is built on the word I am. Every time you hear the word Lord, Yahweh, or every time you see that in the Bible, you would think it is a proper name, like Peter or John. Built out of the word for. The Lord, I am that I am. And who is this Yahweh? I am who I am. I am who I am literally means I will be what I will be. We look at the Hebrew word to be. The most sacred name became the most sacred name for God that has been revealed to us. The name was so sacred to the Jews that they refused to pronounce it. This is probably because of what God said in the Ten Commandments, Exodus 27, "You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. The Lord will not leave him unpunished who takes his name in vain." I am who I am. So what's the implication of this? What's the significance of this name, Lord? When it calls it the Lord Yahweh, by that term, Lord is sufficient, self-sufficient. In other words, this Lord doesn't need anything. He doesn't need you. He doesn't need me. He is self-sufficient God. And this is the God that we are worshiping, serving in the ministry. This is the Lord of Jeremiah. Self-sufficient. He is the Lord of heaven and earth. And this Lord does not dwell in temples made with hands. This Lord is the Creator. Now think about it. This Lord was never created, so He doesn't need anything outside of Himself. He is the Creator. He is the I am. He is the self-sufficient God, and therefore we can depend on Him at all times. Amidst all this chaos, difficulties that we are experiencing, not just in our country, but even as a corporate body. Lord, not only that He is self-sufficient, it's stated, I am. That means He is not a personal force, He is a person or impersonal force. He is a person. I am. In other words, we can say that God had no beginning and will have no end. In other words, this Lord, God lives in the so-called eternal present. I am. He is. God didn't say I was or I will be, but I am. Praise the Lord. That our God is eternally alive. That our God is unchanging. That our God is real. Thank God that this Lord, this God, deals personally with us. And He desires that we deal personally with Him. John Piper said, God is absolute reality. He also said, God is utterly independent. And furthermore, he said, everything that is not God depends totally on God. This is the Lord, beloved. Yahweh, the sovereign God. The God that cannot be compared to anything, to anyone else. This God, by the way, cannot be improved. You think about it. He is constant. He is the same yesterday, today, forever. And this God, this is not the God of the process theology or philosophy. God is about to complete Himself. This God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. That's our God. That's the Lord. That is eternally present. He is with you. And think of His spoken words. He said, I love you. Wow. February. If there is a statement that you need to hear, is the love of God. Look at His word. I have always loved you in verse 3. Jack Winter says it best. Of Lord, not better than what the Lord said. That as far as a commentary to that, there was never a time in all of eternity when we were not loved by God. That's according to Jack Winder. His commentary on I Have Loved You, there was never a time in all of eternity when we were not loved by God. Everlasting, everlasting love. Well, yung ating pag-ibig ay what? Ay, bukas wala na. Pero ito yung Diyos na ating pinaglilingkuran. Yes, love us with an everlasting love. And His love, if you notice, as far as the history of redemption is concerned, we can see the manifestations of His love. We speak of His electing love. When He has chosen you before the foundation of the world. Not because He knows that you will accept Him. That is not the basis of His choosing. Because of His mercy, His love, He has chosen you. He has elected you. So we can see the electing love of the Father, the sanctifying love, or redeeming love rather, of the Son, and the sanctifying love of the Holy Ghost. In other words, this triune God is what He is. God is love. And His love is, therefore, like Himself, it is infinite, it is eternal, it is unchangeable, and even unsearchable. Beloved, it is everlasting in its duration. I have loved you with an everlasting love. Sabihin mo na wala nagmamahal sa iyo. Ito. Pinabayaan ka ng magulang mo. Hiniwalayan ka ng kabiyak mo. Ng girlfriend mo o boyfriend mo. Tila bang wala na nagmamahal sa iyo? Ito. Nandyan ang ating Panginoon na nagmamahal sa atin. Beloved in the Lord, if you think of the eternal, everlasting love of God, I cannot fathom it. Hindi ko maaro ang lalim ng pag-ibig ng Diyos. That's the very reason why when you go to Ephesians 3, they're talking about the height, the depth, the length of the love of Christ. I'm not talking there, and even Paul probably was not talking about the scope of it, but he's talking about the quality, the kind of love. It was this everlasting love, which was in the heart of God, that gave full exercise to all His glorious attributes in the salvation of His people. Love. And God's love is necessarily sovereign. It arose spontaneously in Himself according to the good pleasure of His will. And this love, beloved, is intimately personal. Think about it. I have loved thee. He loved each of his people as he loves all. In conscious possession of Christ's love and promise, every Christian may say, "My beloved is mine." Everlasting love. God, if I will say, is in love with you. The Lord says, "I have loved you with an everlasting love, therefore with loving kindness have I drawn you." What a great encouragement for all of us, beloved, that God's love for each and every one of us is eternal, everlasting love. And when I think of this, that's the reason why in my introductory part a while ago, talking about care, talking about mercy, His unfailing care and mercy. He does not say, "I will love you," but "I have loved you with an everlasting love." We love because He first loved us. Yes, God keeps saying over and over again to us, "I have loved you with an everlasting love. I love you, and I have demonstrated that love once and forever in the death of my Son on your behalf." Many times we don't understand God's love for us until He appears to us in that demonstration of His grace. Because by nature, we are dead in our trespasses and sins. Everlasting love. A love that is without a beginning. A love that is without change. A love that is without end. Praise God. Praise God. Think of the love of Christ. Kailan kayo pinabayaan ng Panginoon? Kailan ba kayo na hindi kinalingan? When I think sa ministry, many times we tend to quit. Biyaya ng Panginoon, I serve the Lord for more than 30 years now, only by His grace. Kung i-include ko yan nung hanggang nung 11 years old ako na nagtuturo na ng Sunday school, ganun na. Ilan tagal. Pero yung pag-ibig ng Diyos, hindi ko pinagkitaan ng pagpapabaya ng aking Diyos na pinaglilingkuran. That until today, masasabi ko pa rin, palasak na siguro sa inyong isipan, kaya napakasarap magtungkod sa ating Panginoong Diyos. Wala mga pagsubok sa buhay, masaya ang magtungkod sa Panginoon. Huwag na huwag ninyong ipagkait sa Diyos yan. Paglingkuran dyan ng nega na pinagkaitan kayo ng Diyos. Our Lord, our God, is so rich and abundant in His mercy. Everlasting love. I have loved you. I have loved you with an everlasting love. How is your heart this morning? Do you love Him? Ay pinagpapalit ninyo sa Diyos yung ating Diyos sa mga bagay na kung saan ay nakapagpagtulot ng paghirap sa ating kalooban. Kung mahal mo talaga ang Diyos na nagligtas sa iyo, gagawa at gagawa ka ng bagay na nakalulugod sa Kanya. You're doing best in your studies. You are serving Him in the ministry with joy and gratitude. You respect your girlfriend, you respect your boyfriend by not doing something that is what immoral. And that means you have to walk with God. If you really love God, it should be manifested in the way you walk your Christian life and in the way you serve the Lord in the ministry. Huwag nyo ipagpalit sa panandaliang aliw. Love the Lord. Love the Lord your God. Our team. But in spite of our team, where are we in terms of our devotion? Where are we in terms of our love? How is your heart, beloved? God said, I have loved you with an everlasting love. Tapos ang response po, wala na. Beloved, He loves us so much. And look at the last phrase of verse 3, I have drawn you to me. Because of God's everlasting love, His promise remains to draw us with His loyal love, His covenant love, His hesed, loving kindness. God says to us, I have loved you with an everlasting love, therefore I have drawn you with loving kindness. You see, this kind of love, you can see the irresistible power of God's love. His stubborn love, if you will. Yes, Christ found His people dead in trespasses and sin. But in the day of His power, He quickened them and called them effectually to Himself. He passed by them and said, live! And He made their time. It should be a time of love, responding with love. He loved us so much that He died on the cross. There's the Lord. Jesus Christ said, I am that I am. Before Abraham, I am. There's the Lord. There's Christ. Loved us so much. And His love never fails. His love is even stronger than death. Question this morning, beloved, as we reflect on this. Does your heart swell up with gratitude of a million, telling to the Lord, Lord, thank you so much. I am forever and ever grateful to you for your love, for your care, for your mercy. Beloved, the Lord's arms are always outstretched and reaching down to us. Even when we were spiritually dead and unaware of it, it is always the mighty acts of God. You know what? Further reflection on this, because we sin every day, consciously and unconsciously. You know what? His love and grace is patient with us. The loving kindness of God draws us. He does not compel. He does not force, but draws us in love and compassion. So when you think of the gospel, one author said, the master magnet of the gospel is not fear, but love. Penitents are drawn to Christ rather than timid. That's according to Spurgeon. Love, everlasting love. Well, bakit ako naghihirap? Bakit ganito ang ating buhay? Why am I suffering? Bakit ako naguguluhan, nalulumbay? A paraan probably that the Lord is chastening us. Remember that God chastens us also. He disciplines us. Because He loves us. Take note of this. He disciplines and He restores us. Beloved, His time of discipline does not last forever. Marahil ay karanasan mo ngayon. Marahil dinidisiplina ka ng Diyos. But when the discipline has done its work on our hearts, the rejoicing can begin, according to Psalm 126, verse 3. When the Lord brought back the captivity of Zion, so you see now, they were rejoicing and dancing, going back to their promised land. Probably their mouths were filled with laughter, and their tongues with singing after they were being disciplined. No wonder they said, as far as the Israelites are concerned, the Lord has done great things for them. The Lord has done great things, and we are glad. Yes, this Lord, with an everlasting love, this Yahweh is the Lord Jesus Christ. I am that I am, ego and me. It emphasizes the ever existence that they would have to be in that order. I am that I am. Christ our Lord. Instead, the Apostle John reported Jesus using the word to refer to himself 8 times. He used I am by itself. He also used these 2 words 700 times with an object. Jesus again spoke to them saying, ano sabi niya? I am the light of the world. I am the bread of life. I am the good shepherd. I am the life. I am the truth. I am the way. I am. Jesus clearly declared himself to be Yahweh in John 6:20. But he said to them, it is I. Do not be afraid. Literal translation, but he says to them, I am. I am. This is the God that we are serving, and this is the God who loves us so much. So for this month, today, and the years to come, put a special place in your heart. Love Him, believe. People of God, the word of the Lord, I have loved you with an everlasting love. You belong to Him. We belong to Him. I have loved you with an everlasting love. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? I have loved you with an everlasting love. In other words, beloved, God's love for us will never end. And He's telling us, I have loved you, and I will always love you. And my love for you is active. God is faithful. Faithful not just for a moment, a year, a season for our lives. You are faithful, regardless of who I am. God is faithful. Praise God. His love for me and for you never ends. It is eternally present. I have loved you with an everlasting love. Thank you, Lord, for your great love to your Son. The I am that I am. Thank you for your word this morning. Lord, cause our heart to love you, focus on you, to serve you. For indeed, what is our response, Lord, to your love? But to love you with our hearts, with our minds, with our soul, with all our being. Glorify thyself, Lord, and cause us to walk with you and to serve you faithfully in the ministry. In Jesus' name.